Hello and welcome to a very cold and not so spring-like Drumble Lake at Cudmore Fisheries. We're going to be going a couple of different lines today and how to get the most out of well, it's supposed to be a spring session, but it's not really spring, it's more sort of winter but I'm going to show you the tactics anyway that we can cover when it starts spring. Now, pellets, that's what the fish are going to go on to next. When it starts warming up a little bit, you're going to target them bigger fish on pellets, but to start with I'm going to be fishing maggots through over a little bit of ground bait, maybe a few sort of like micros in, just so that they can grub around on. Two separate swims. I'm going to do maggot and ground bait out long at sort of 14.5 metres, and I'm going to do pellets at sort of 13 metres on an angle, so I'm not sort of like, you know, splitting the fish. I'm going to throw a few maggots in at 6 metres, but I probably won't get to fish it because I've got a professional skyliner in Mark with me, so it probably will be spooking the fish because he likes a little bit of a sing-song. So do I, there's not wrong with sing-songs. Anyway, without further ado, let's go over the rigs and I can show you how exactly I want to set up and catch these lovely fishes for you. Right, I'm going to be really quick and talk you through these rigs because I can't wait to get fishing. I've not been for like a day and I can't wait to get back. Right, first rigs first. So as I say, I've got two swims on the go, one at 14.5 slightly to my left and one at 13 metres slightly to my right, both on angles because what I don't want to do is split the fish. I'm going to feed different on each swim. So on the one to my right I'm going to put ground bait and maggots in, just a smattering of micros, just to get the fish grubbing around. And then on my right hand swim, where I hope to catch bigger fish, I'm just going to purely loose feed micro pellets and put either one of our new durable hookers on or an expander, and we'll see what happens. Should catch bigger fish on it. Right, enough of me waffling, let's go through the rigs. So we'll start from the top. On both setups I've got a single number 5s elastic. Now what are you thinking is 5s on a water where there's big waddly carp and this, that and the other, and big tension, big barbel? Why are you using the 5s? The reason being is I see it all too often that anglers fish too heavy elastic, and certainly with fish like skimmers and roach that we're targeting today, if your elastic's too heavy you're going to be bumping them. So a single 5s elastic, as long as you've got a puller kit on, it don't make a blind bit of difference. You can whack into them big fish, and if you do hook a big waddly one, just get it back to your top kit and then you can just use your puller. And obviously you don't need loads of sections in the air like in the olden days, what you used to. So coming from that, we've probably got what, 2.5 foot between our pole tip and float. Now that's another area where anglers go wrong. They have too short a line between pole tip and float. Although it's quite deep water, we've got around sort of 6 and a bit foot. The water's still clear, so you need to keep your pole well away from the surface of the water. Obviously that's going to spook the fish. 4 inches, 5 inches above that float, we've got 2 number 8s, back shot, massive believer in back shot. Then we're coming down to the float. Now this rig is designed to catch everything over the ground bait. Now it's sort of like a slim patterned float. It's a MAP WD1 float. It's only a 412s in that deep water. And what that's allowing me to do, when I lay the rig in, I'm going to hold a tight line to that back shot, and the float's going to come in that angle. So any like roach that are off the bottom, things like that, you're going to see them bites and dink it on the drop. Incidentally, it's 0.13 main line, MAP Power Optics, and we've got a 6-inch 0.10 MAP Power Optics hook length. Right, coming down to the all important bit. So hook wise, we've got a 16s black gamma. I'm a massive fan of the black gamma Gatsu hooks. They just do everything for me, sort of like all through the winter and into spring. 16s, I don't go any smaller than a 16s. They're a nice fine wire hook, and when you're fishing sort of over depth, it don't make a blind bit of difference, trust me. It's the hook sort of like wire gauge that makes a difference, not the size of the hook. So by fishing that sort of like 1.5 inches, 2 inches over depth, you can get away with using a big hook. So 6-inch 0.10 hook length. Our first dropper shot there is a number 11. Sort of 3 inches above that we've got another number 11. 3 inches again, another number 11. And then same distance, 3 inches. So our bulk shot's what, sort of 18, 20 inches from our hook. We've got a series of 6 number 11 shots, and I've got a single number 12 just to dot that float right down, and I've got a bit of grease on the float as well. It's a rig that will catch you absolutely everything swimming, and that's what we're going for today on this ground bait line. I'm going to start off sort of at a couple of balls, and then I'm going to see how it goes. I don't really want to lose feed because I want to target the skimmers more because they're your weight builders. I'm going to catch roach, I can catch them short anyway, so I'm going to have a, not a throwaway line. As I say, I've got a professional skyliner, but I'm going to throw maggots in short and see what happens. So that's our main rig, so to speak. That's what we're going to start start off on, sorry. Our next one, which is out and out skimmer fishing. Again, you see we've got a single 5s elastic again. A little pot on this one so we can introduce them micros all the time. On the ground bait swim, I'm going to put a ball in, sort of golf ball, tangerine size, and fish it out. I'm not going to do that on a pellet swim. Again, good distance of line between pole tip and float, 2 and a bit foot again. 2 number 8s back shot. Now float wise, you see it's a bit of a different float. The reason being is we've got a bit of, well, we did have a bit of chop on before, it seems to have gone a bit, but it's forecast to get up again later. And that's why I've got more of a sort of rugby ball shaped float on, just so I can hold back. The thing with pellets is, your pellets got to be stationary. Alright, they'll go for a moving bait, but if it's juddering all the time, that's a big word for me, that, juddering. It's not going to look natural, so you want something to hold back on. Wire stem float, again for sort of sensitivity. That other one was a wire stem as well. And now this is a 414, so it's heavier than that other one, which is a 412s. I'll explain why in a sec. Basically, with skimmer fishing, you want to be fishing nice and positive. As soon as a fish touches that bait, you want to see it nice and positive on your float. Exactly the same hook length, 16s black gamma, 6 inches of 0.10, but the droppers are a bit different. We've got number 9s droppers on. Now, we're out and out fishing for skimmers or bream on this line, so we want to get straight down to them. You don't need as much finesse as what that other rig will bring to the table, in that, you know, it's bringing that bait down really slow. I want to get straight down to these fish, because when they turn up, they're going to turn up in numbers. So we've got 3 number 9s spaced evenly apart like that other rig, and then we've got 6 number 9s in our bulk and a single number 11 just to dot that float right down. Both of them have got grease on. It's exactly the same mainline, 0.13, but we just, as I say, we've just got that little bit of grease on just so I can have it really fine, because some of the bites are really finicky, they'll just sort of shake your float. So them are the rigs, we'll talk you through the rigs. The next thing we'll go on to is bait choice. As I say, I'm fishing ground bait and maggots on one line and pellets on the other, so let's go through the bait, and then after that we'll go through how I set up the ground bait and I'll prepare that. Yeah! Bait choice then. So I never fish baits that are too selective. I'll always fish baits that are going to catch me absolutely everything swimming, and that's exactly what I've got on my side tree here. Maggots and pellets. There's probably not a fish swimming in the whole wide world that won't know or won't eat a maggot or a pellet. Baits like corn and meat, yeah, they'll catch fish, but it's one of them this time of year. You just want to be getting bites, you know what I mean? Yeah, you can target bigger fish on baits like that, but trust me, stick with maggots and pellets and you won't go far wrong. So we've got some 4 milli expanders, which I pumped before. We've got some live maggots, fresh maggots, which were bought a couple of days ago. And then we've got some older maggots in here and a few dead ones. The reason for them being older is they're a bit more durable in the water. They'll sort of like vibrate a little bit more, and they won't sort of like feel the water and shrink up. They'll stay the shape, they'll stay what they are. So that's why I'm using older maggots. They're like 2-3 weeks old. As long as you keep them cold, especially this time of year, it's cold anyway, or in the fridge, they'll be perfect for you. And the last thing in there is just some 2mm micros. So, ground bait wise, just go in my little bucket here. All I've got in here is 50-50 black swim stim and our dynamite skimmer mix. It's fantastic mix. It's been catching my fish all over the place. Literally, it's my go-to mix for sort of this time of year, all the way through, but certainly this time of year coming into spring, it's fantastic. I'll show you how to mix it in a sec. But basically all I've got in there, I've just got a separate tub, that's all been riddled. I've got a separate tub, and this is what I'm going to be feeding. That's the amount I'm going to put in at the start. And you'll see I've got a few maggots in there, not many, probably 15 to 20, and just literally just a sprinkling of micros. So when I make a ball up, sort of like tangerine size, the first ball I make up is hard. The next ball I make up, I'll do it really soft. So you can see there, that's the size of ball I'm going to put in to start off with. And I'll break that up, you can see there's hardly any bait in there, just a few maggots and just a few sort of 2mm micros. I don't want to put too much in. The water's still very cold, so I don't want to put loads of bait in thinking, go on, the fish are having it, we're getting into warmer weather in the spring. It's not like that. Always feel your way into a session. Don't just assume that the fish are going to have it, because quite often they come and kick you in the whatsits and they don't. So always feel you into a session, as I say. So the hard ball is what I'll put in first, and then literally I'm just going to give it a light squeeze. Now what that'll do, the hard ball will go straight down to the bottom, you know, take a few seconds to break up, whereas this softer one, once it goes in, it's going to break out sort of halfway down, and that's going to cover a bigger area. It's a fantastic way of like attracting fish into your swim. Now I'm going to show you how to mix this ground bait now. It's going to take sort of 10 or 15 minutes to get right, but the first thing you want to do when you get to your peg, if you know you're going to be fishing ground bait or pellets, make sure you prepare it first, because it will take quite a bit of time to get right. So let's go through it now and let me show you how I mix it. Yes, we're on the all important ground bait mix. So my number one go-to ground bait for this time of year, or all times of year actually, yeah, pretty much all times of year, is black swim stim, absolute cult classic, and our new skimmer mix. The smell is absolutely amazing. All I'm going to do is mix them 50-50. Make sure you've got a riddle just to get them, you know, smallest lumps out. And that's it. I'm using lake water. I'm not putting any flavourings in today. I'm just going to let these two do the job. So in with a bit of that. I've already got a bit mixed up, so I'm not going to put too much in. So I'm just going to do 50-50 mix. As you can see there, it goes like a right nice grey colour. Ooh, lovely. The reason I'm using sort of a darker mix rather than say a light mix, rather than just using sort of that on its own, is obviously because the water's still a bit clear. Sometimes a fish can spook, as Yorkshire people would say. They can spook off a nice light mix, so you don't want that. That's why you want to darken it off a little bit. So with the lake water, I'm just going to add little bits at a time. Now, you could use a drill, but what's wrong with these? Come on, get your mittens in there and get mixing. If you saw, actually, that's important. If you saw like Darren Cox's tips in a magazine the other week, he was on about using drills and the vibrations, and it got me thinking, he knows what he's on about, that bloke. He can catch a few fish, and he's got an haircut like me. So, get on with the mix. I'm waffling, aren't I? I can't help waffling. So, we don't want to over wet it. We want it quite wet, but not over wet to start with. And this is one of the reasons why you've got to mix it as soon as you get to your peg, because it'll take quite a bit to get right. So get loads of air in it like that. So you see I've not put hardly any water in it. Get loads of water in it, and then what you're left with is a nice mix, so that basically once you form it, it binds straight away. That's what you want. Now we need to leave that sort of 15 minutes or something like that. Come back to it. We'll need to add a little bit more water to it to get it a little bit damp again, and then we can put it through the riddle, and then we can get going. So I think, Mark, we should go for a brew and wait for this to sort of rest. So let's do it now. Yeah!
Why not?
Oh, that's better. We just finished our brews, and now we're back to do finish the ground bait off. So I've not done anything to it. You can see it's gone a little bit dry. If I just work it through, you can see how fine it's gone. Now what we need to do is put a bit more water to it, just so it's a bit more sticky. So tiny little bit more water. Keep mixing as you're pouring the water in, and you'll see it won't take much. You'll see that, again, it's just gone back to that same consistency what we had it before. So all we need to do now is put it through a riddle, just to get rid of some of the lumps, which I'll show you in a sec. We don't really want them. Summertime, we just chuck it in, it doesn't really matter. But this time of year, it can feed the fish up a little bit too much, so you don't really want to do it. Don't really want to put it in neat. So, riddly, 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 roo. And then what you're left with is these. It's these things that obviously, if you're feeding that in a bowl, that can be going down to the bottom and it'll feed the fish up in one. That's not what you want. So all we need to do is just smooth that out with a flat side of your hand. Break it all up, getting all the way through, and then you're left with a nice, lovely, smooth mix, and that is absolutely perfect. As I say, one little squeeze like that and it's binded straight away. That's absolutely perfect mix. Might need to just get a little atomizer on it. You notice on my side tray I've got a little atomizer. Just give it a little bit of a squirt of water. Certainly when, well, the sun's come out for us and everything now, so when the sun comes out it will dry it up. But what I tend to do is put it in a ground bait bowl with a lid on it, just to keep it out of the direct sunlight, and that should be perfect all the time for you. So let's go and get some bowls in and catch some fishes. Ooh yeah! Right, so it's probably been about half an hour, and all I've caught for the last sort of 8 or 10 minutes is them little things. I've had a few bigger ones, but I can't get down to the skimmers. I know the skimmers there because they're fizzing, so I've noticed a few bubbles coming up on the pellet line, so I think it's time. I think it's time we did it and went on the pellets. I've fed it another 2 times since we've been out there. I'm not going to put any ground bait in for now out there, because I want to see what the response is like off these skimmers on this pellet line. I will put another ball in, but just for now, I want to see if I can get one fairly quick. So, it's on with a 4mm expander pellet, and I'm just going to put just a few micros in, probably 25, 30, something like that. Now I'm fully expecting this to go pretty quick. That's what usually happens. The fish are feeding today. They know spring's just around the corner, so they are having a bit of a chew today. First things first, I'm going to put the micros in, and then I'm going to flick the rig out, so it's sort of like coming back down nice and natural. I'm going to hold the float out a little bit. I'm laying it in a completely different way. Don't forget, we're fishing very positive on this rig. 3 number 9s droppers and a bulk of number 9, so that when it comes under the pole like that, I can drop it and it pretty much settles straight away. So we're fishing very, very quickly. Now, that's the reason why I've got a heavier float on. Oh, we had a little dink there and I forgot to strike. That's the reason I'm fishing a heavier float on this. You notice the wind's got up, as I said before, and now I want that expander pellet to remain stationary. The only movement I want to put on it is my own movement, controlled movements. Again, most of your bites will come just after you've moved it. So, by laying it in like that, your hook bait's going to come right directly over where you've been feeding. You've been sprinkling them micros in. Still putting a few maggots in short, again as a throwaway line. The roach are feeding out there, so they'll definitely come short, but as I said, the roach are smaller fish in here, so we want to try and target the bigger fish. Now, ooh, I was just going to say, now then. Oh, now then. It's just lovely fishing. Like, that's the beauty of pellets. You can target the fish what you're going for. Obviously, maggots, brilliant bait. My number 1 go-to bait all times of year, because it will catch absolutely everything swimming. But when it does start to warm up a bit, just try the pellets, and honestly, you'll be able to target these better fish, these better skimmers. There's goldfish in here, so we might even catch a Nemo. It's gonna be a bit of run around, isn't it? They don't normally fight skimmers. But there's some nice sort of like skimmers getting on for Bohemian here, up to sort of like £2.5–3, but some people would still call them skimmers. But it's fish like that, you know, sort of 6 to 8 ounce fish. If you get them queued up, they're coming obviously a lot quicker, and you can do a silly weight of them. If there's a lot there, you can do a silly weight of them. Put one of them on again. I'm going to sprinkle a few micros in. I'm still going to feed the micros every go in until, you know, I start to encounter problems. What I mean by that is, if I start getting like loads of lines or foul hook fish, I'll try and catch 2 or even 3 fish off a feed of micros. Bearing in mind I'm putting sort of 25–30 micros in, because I want a few there, but I want to see what the response is first. So if I were to foul hook one this time, or you know, sort of get a little dink and miss it, or notice loads of fizzing in my peg, which is what's happening on my ground bait, then as I say, I'll try and catch sort of like 2 fish off one feed or 3 fish off one feed. Oh, straight back in business again. Now, as I said before, I can't stress the importance enough of, you know, fishing more positive for skimmers. Remember that first line that we were on, the ground bait in the maggot? Again, it's designed to catch everything swimming, the way I had it shotted and set up and everything. But this one is out and out skimmers. But, you know, bearing in mind, there's tension here, there's carp, there's goldfish, as I say, there's barbel, there's all sorts in here. So we had a bite that time and missed it. It didn't look like a liner, it was nice and quick. So I think this next time, if you catch a fish fairly quickly now, I'm not going to feed this next time and see what the response is. If I wait sort of 3, 4, 5 minutes for a bite, I'll know it's not right. I'll know I need to feed every go in. See, it's things like that. You're trying to work out the feeding pattern all the time. But although, you know, an absolute classic skimmer mix, bream mix is ground bait, when they get their head into pellets, because that's pretty much all they'll see all through summer, you know, through pleasure anglers coming on and putting loads of pellets in for the carp. Once the skimmers get their heads into them pellets, it's game over usually. And obviously that's where, you know, that the flavoured baits can come in and make a big difference. Our new durable pellets, they're absolutely brilliant. They're going to be fantastic for me this sort of like spring coming into summer, where they'll stay on your hook, you know, they'll get a lot of fish in your peg. rather than sort of like trouble with expanders. If you miss a bite, you've got to come all the way back and bait up again. With our new durables, we'll be able to get straight back in there, and that's the beauty of them. But experiment with liquids and that, you know, the warmer it gets, you know, we've got a whole new range of new additives and that out, glugs and what have you, and they will make a difference. It's all about experimenting on the day. I use days like this, you know, features or things like that when I'm coaching. I use them to experiment, so I know what to expect in matches. Now, because it took a couple of minutes to get that fish, that's why I'm feeding again. If I catch one within sort of 30 seconds to a minute, I'm not going to feed this next time. I know it's obvious there's a few fish there, you know, we've gone straight in on it, we've left it half an hour, gone straight on it, and we're straight into them skimmers. But you'll notice straight away that the difference in the fish we're catching. We're just targeting the skimmers. Shouldn't catch roach. I mean, you get odd roach and this, that and the other, but you notice the difference on that rig where I was sort of like laying it in, holding a tight line. It was like that on the drop, dinking all the time. I put another ball in, but you know, the roach are straight on it. So that's why I'm going to focus on these pellets. And we'll keep going. So it's been in sort of 20... Oh! I was just going to say then, it's been in sort of 25-30 seconds. Right, now this is decision time now. Do I feed? Now, because it's a bigger fish, I'm going to feed this next time. Because if it's anything like me, bigger fish, bit greedy, it's going to snare everything, so I'm going to put a bit of bait back in. If it was a skimmer like I just had, you know, sort of 6 to 8 ounce, I'd have gone straight back in again, I wouldn't have fed. But chances are, this would have nailed a lot in the swim, because I'm not putting loads in, so I've got to keep that bait going in. Again, I'm always fishing from like a match perspective. I probably don't need to feed as much as what I'm doing today, because there's no one else on the lake, so no one's competing for the fish, but I can't help it. I just want to feed and catch more. I just can't help myself. Oh, this is nice, this. Can't beat a bit of spring skimmer fishing. Oh, look at that beauty. Have you got him, Matt? You got him? Oh, look at that. This is what we come for. Oh, best part of 10 ounces. He might be a pound and a bit, something like that. Lovely, right in top lip, and that's where you should be hooking the fish. So obviously when they're feeding like that and you're fishing sort of dead depth, which we are on this pellet line, again, that's why it's important to use a more stable, heavier rig. The feed like that, suck the bait in, you see the bite, and that's where you're striking as the fish sort of like comes off the bottom. So that's where you should be hooking them. If you're not hooking them there on a pellet, then, I mean, obviously if you're getting them, it doesn't matter, but usually you should be hooking them at top lip. If you're not, it's because you've just gone a little bit too much over depth, or you're not on your marker or something, so just come back and check it. So, I'm waffling a bit, aren't I? I can't help it. I just can't help it. I'm in my element here, catching these fishes. So it's in with another sort of 25-30 micros, because it was a bigger fish. And out we go again. To snare another one. Might catch some Nemos, you know. We might catch some Nemos. I think we will, you know. I do. So you notice every time I'm laying it in, I'm always pushing it out. So it's coming down that same way every single time. This is where presentation is so important this time of year. It really is. Wait for everything to settle and then drop your float so you're fishing straight away. You're not waiting for them like shots to settle or anything like that. So see how quick this one comes now. Again, if it's another decent one, I'll feed again. But if it's not, ooh, we had a little dink then. If it's one sort of 6-8 ounce, I'll probably go in without feeding. Because I know there's fish there. We've had what, 3 or 4 fish now, really quick, so we know there's a few there. We know there's a few there! Oh, this is perfect. I don't know if you can see on the camera, but obviously I've got that float dotted right down. And what you will get by shotting it quite positive, like I've got them number 9s, you will get some lift bites. Even though we're fishing more or less sort of bang on dead depth, or what I mean by dead depth is I'm plumbing to the bottom of the bristle, you will still get a few lift bites because, you know, the water's just about warming up a bit, the fish is still cold, so they're not going to be like real positive and, you know, snaring off with it. So, not had a bite as quick this time. Now, it's still too early to say, but when it's like this, if it had been like another, oh, I taught that one on, didn't I? When's that one on? If like 15 or 20 minutes had passed then, I was still waiting for a bite, I'd start experimenting. I'd go like a foot to my left because that's where the toe's going, and then obviously try short, try long. Oh, it's fell off. You know, just try little experiments like that. So we foul up that one, I think, and it didn't feel right. So I'm not going to feed because we lost it out of our peg. If I'd have lost it in my peg, I'd have fed. You know, get the fish back in the area. But we lost it out of our peg, or swim, should I say? So I'm going to go straight back in. Wasn't a big fish, but I think it was foul up. So that's a sign that could be putting too much bait in. Because I am quite heavy-handed sometimes, you know, I do get a bit carried away, especially when there's a few fish there, like there is. I just can't help myself. I'm probably not even going to fish that line, but I just can't help feeding, can I? Spring's in the air, look at the sunshine. Where's my amber solaire? Should be watching me float, shouldn't I? I had a bite then, I forgot to strike. Honestly. Oof, it's going a bit, that. That's lovely. Right then, look at this little lot. Best part of sort of 3 hours fishing. I bet we've got like about, there's probably getting on for, well, I'd say just over £30 in there. It's been absolutely fantastic. Had some lovely big skimmers. We've had a great big Wadley perch that was on the maggot line early on, and somewhere in here I said we'd catch a Nemo, didn't I? How can we not see him in there? Come on, Mr. Nemo. Nemos! Look at that little beauty there. He's one of my own kind. It's a strawberry blonde fish. Potatoes. It's been absolutely amazing. Yeah, I've fished for, as I said, just over 3 hours. Most, oh, see him try to jump out then. How dare you? I've fished for just over 3 hours. Most of these were caught on the pellets. As I said, I wanted to target the skimmers today, and you can see why. There's a few like little baby roaches in there. That's what we've had early on the maggot. I've not gone back on that maggot line. When I come off it after half an hour, I kept putting the ball in every sort of 20 minutes, but it was pointless coming off. And when the skimmers were like, they were really having it, you catch like 3 or 4 dead quick, then it go iffy for like 30 seconds. It's been absolutely solid. So I think we'll have to get these back, and then we'll go and catch them again maybe tomorrow. Yeah! Are you going to watch them all go back? I said there's probably more than £30 in there, you know. I had a right good day. Let's slip them all back. Some skimmers, most of them are sort of like 8 to 10 ounce, but we've had some up to like £2.5. Look at this one, big doozer coming out there. Look at him, there's a big perch till last. He's going to go and eat them all now. Oh, yeah. Brilliant. Proper that, mate.